Of a partisan classified memo critical of the FBI is igniting new controversy and bitter debate tonight.
But however, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are waiting to see what President Trump does with the information outlining purported surveillance abuses. KCAL 9 political reporter Bryan has been actually watching this story for the last few days and joins us tonight with the very latest.
Absolutely.
It's kind of been bubbling under the surface, hasn't it?
Bubbling is exactly the right word, too. In some ways, this is really boils down to the clash of two California Congress members who are very prominent on opposite sides. The political battle lines have been drawn on this issue for weeks now, and today's release of the secret GOP memo based on classified information is not likely to change that. There are no shocking surprises or dramatic new smoking guns coming out of it, but what happens next may be the real headline. Once President Trump gave the green light to releasing the controversial and classified Republican memo, the debate was on. President Trump calling it a disgrace.
I think it's terrible. You want to know the truth? I think it's a disgrace. What's going on in this country? A lot of people should be ashamed of themselves, and much worse than that.
The memo claims that FBI agents relied primarily on a politically motivated dossier compiled by former British spy Christopher Steele when they sought permission to surveil Trump campaign foreign policy advisor Carter Page just before the 2016 election. The memo says when agents went before a secret FISA court judge, they did not mention Steele was ultimately working on behalf of and paid by the DNC and Clinton campaign to the tune of about $160,000. Proof, Republicans charge, that the surveillance of Page was politically motivated.
To my knowledge, this is the first time in American history that the FBI and Justice Department have been weaponized through the actions of a political party.
But Burbank Congressman Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, told CNN Friday the Republican committee leaders had no intention of doing a real credible investigation.
The goal was simply to get a misleading piece of information before the public, help support the president, help discredit the Mueller investigation and the FBI, help do the bidding of the White House. If the committee, Wolf, was seriously interested in oversight here, they would have done what we usually do, which is they would have said, let's bring in the FBI, let's hear what they have to say.
But another California congressman, Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes from Visalia, told Fox News the Democrats are the ones who have been obstructionist and uncooperative on the FISA investigation from the very beginning and have no one to blame but themselves.
These are the same Democrats who blocked our subpoenas or tried to block our subpoenas back in August. So these are not honest actors. They know they're not being honest actors. And, I get tired of playing whack-a-mole every day with the Democrats on this committee.
Sources say President Trump sees the memo as a way to discredit the entire Russia investigation. For now, the president isn't saying if he'll fire the top Justice Department official overseeing the probe, that would be Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, but he certainly didn't sound very supportive of Rosenstein when asked by reporters today.
Does it make you more likely to fire Rosenstein? Do you still have confidence in him after reading the memo?
You figure that one out.
Hearing that, House and Senate Democrats fired off a letter to the White House, charging that firings could spark another Watergate-type crisis.
If the president uses this fake, horrible release of distorted intelligence as an excuse to fire Acting Attorney General Rosenstein or Mueller, it could lead to a constitutional crisis.
And former FBI Director James Comey took aim at what he called the dishonest and misleading memo, charging that it wrecked the House Intel Committee, destroyed trust with the intelligence community, damaged relationship with FISA court, and inexcusably exposed classified investigation of an American citizen. Now, on the other side, at least one congressman from Arizona says the memo clearly makes the case that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who the memo pointed out was one of the co-signers for a surveillance warrant, is a traitor to our nation and should be criminally prosecuted. Now, Attorney General Jeff Sessions said today the issues raised by the memo are of great importance, and the Justice Department, he said, will fully and fairly ascertain the truth. Jeff, back to you.